20 miles south of Las Vegas, Nevada, lies a barren yet beautiful dry lake bed. Today it will serve as a proving ground for the Nikon creative lighting system.
It's great to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Judy Ann?
Hi.
World-renowned photographer Joe Mcnally has assembled a dramatic cast of characters to help him demonstrate the potential of the Nikon SB800 and SB600 speedlights, a lighting system that allows photographers on many levels to achieve studio-quality lighting indoors or out on location.
Try this.
With Nikon's exclusive system, it's possible to capture the drama and quality of ambient light in natural settings and combine it with light provided by the speedlights. From simple one-light setups to more advanced wireless multiple group setups, speedlights allow you to enhance your creativity.
What this unit does give you is a tremendous amount of sort of intuitive control of the situation, and that's the reason I use this kind of technology.
Mcnally has incorporated the use of digital cameras into his photography and is a master of flash photography and lighting. His work has graced the covers of every major magazine from Life and Sports Illustrated to National Geographic.
I've been a film photographer for 25 years, and I've shot for the National Geographic for about 17 years, and just last year we did the first all-digital story for the National Geographic, and the digital world is upon us, and what I'm finding with this kind of system is it gives you tremendous leeway and tremendous versatility.
Versatility has become a trademark for Joe. American Photographer magazine has called him the most versatile shooter working today. His reputation causes assignment editors to expect consistently amazing work, and that expectation has driven Joe to demand a lighting system that delivers complete control over his situations.
What these strobes give you the opportunity to do is not overpower and not destroy the essential flavor of a scene, but tailor the light so that it fits with a scene and it speaks in the way that your imagination is telling you in the direction that you want to go in photographically.
Today, Joe will explore single and multiple light scenarios with each of his 3 subjects, testing the Nikon system across a wide range of challenges, from a blazing sun that causes extreme backlighting to a softer, more colorful sunset that is fading. With Nikon's Speedlight Flash system, Joe has the opportunity to use multiple wireless strobes set up in one of 3 groups within the scene, either A, B, or C. Joe can control each group independently from a master SB800 connected to his camera. He can have the master unit contribute light to the scene, or simply use it to command the firing and output of the different groups of strobes in the scene. The master unit uses pulse-modulated light and monitor pre-flashes to communicate with the secondary units. Placing them precisely within the scene, Joe can command the units within a 6-stop range of compensation to deliver the appropriate amount of light. While shooting, Joe receives audible signals alerting him that the remote speedlights are doing their jobs.
Okay, beeps are telling me that the light received the signal and went off. And now it's telling me that it's recycled and it's ready to go again. And got a really, really nice picture. The backlight is working quite well, and the amazing thing about this extremely difficult light situation where she's totally backlit and it's a wireless strobe that's set up off and away from camera is that it's done completely automatically. I'm on aperture preferred mode at a fairly sizable f-stop, and the camera is basically sorting this entire situation out for me. So let's go to town here and let's give me a couple of poses, maybe spread your stance out. Very nice. You look fantastic. Okay. Is there anything you can do perhaps with your hands out a little bit? Good, good, perfect. That's lovely, that's lovely. Okay, I'll tell you what, why don't you spread out your stance a little bit and maybe hands on hip, sort of real kind of attitude. Kick the hip, looking good, and down towards me now. Good, that's great. Chin towards me now a little bit, and chin up, good. Okay.
With the showgirl scenario, the system's ITTL through-the-lens metering was able to measure reflectivity, contrast, color, and brightness, and then quickly calculate the exposure for the situation. Joe's next subject presents a new challenge. Dressed entirely in black, the magician appears as a silhouette, unless the metering can discern the subtle differences in shadow and detail.
This strobe effectively is going to be Group A, all right?
Known for his quick thinking and a creative approach to his subjects, Joe decides to incorporate a speed light in the scene in an unusual way. By having the magician levitate one of the SB800s, Joe calculates its output within one of the secondary groups. He simultaneously utilizes the technology to its fullest potential, while adding its output to the dynamics of the image.
The amazing thing about the system is I'm dealing with Lauren, who's dressed almost in black, a large swatch of very dense material, against an incredibly brilliant light source. And the camera, I have no compensation dialed into it whatsoever. I have no compensation dialed into the lights. They're figuring this out for me. I still find that pretty astonishing. Okay, here we go.
Although the master speed light on the camera controls all the units that are set up in the various groups, each of the secondary units has to be set to the remote mode on the same channel as the master unit. The secondary units receive their commands from pulse-modulated monitor pre-flashes of light from the master, so their remote sensors need to face the master unit or be in a position to have light reflected to them.
So in this situation, I'm going to dial in this strobe to be Group B. Okay, and this in effect will become my main light. Group A is the levitated strobe. So what I'm doing over here is I'm highlighting Group B, and you can see the enlarged letter there, B. The sensor for these is right here. This is the key to the whole system. It's the way this sensor reads the impulse from the master unit. The master unit is sending them what they call a monitor pre-flash. Basically, it's like a Morse code system for the strobes. It is sending it not only a trigger, an impetus to fire, but it's also sending it exposure information, which is pretty astonishing. It all happens milliseconds before the actual exposure. So the one thing I have to be sensitive to, of course, is then to take that sensor and make sure it sees the camera. The omnidirectional head lets me do that really easily. So let's go to town here, Lauren. Lots of action in terms of just kind of attitude, magic. There we go. Wonderful. Beautiful. Perfect. Really nice. Beautiful. Perfect. Okay. We're at 3:45 now. In the next half an hour, we're going to lose light entirely.
With time running out, Joe finds himself and his subject in an unusual position. A contortionist's unique ability to fit inside a 2-foot square box presents some interesting opportunities.
It's looking really, really nice. Let's get this light over in here. Okay, right in here.
A common technique in studio lighting is to create a large, soft light source with diffuse surfaces that cause the light to wrap around the subject. Here on location, Joe demonstrates this technique with a bank of speed lights illuminating a large diffusion surface.
Perfect. Okay, relax for a second. Okay, Kelvin, I'm going to do a test fire of you just the way you are. Don't move, please. Okay. That looks great, Kelvin. We are good to go. One of the reasons I've moved this scrim in is to get a wrapping effect, a glow on Kelvin, a nice, good, strong character, but character light that's has definition and has direction, but also has softness. Okay, let's do this.
Because Nikon's ITTL flash metering is measuring the speed light's reflected value off the subject in a series of fast calculations through the lens, it's easy to make accurate exposures in this extreme situation. The diffusion materials effect isn't hindering the exposure at all, a measurement that would be extremely difficult without the calculations that the camera's master unit delivers.
Okay, we're done.
Sunset is just minutes away when Joe decides to attempt a scenario with all 3 characters. The system's flexibility and speed of setup allows him to imagine an opportunity and quickly capture it before the ambient light conditions change.
Let's have a little bit of logic about this, Bob and Marty. I'll start this side over here. This will become Group A. All right? Bob, the light you're working on, Group B. Marty, that far one, Group C.
The process of programming the master speedlight to drive the remote speedlight units is quick and intuitive.
Here's my menu that tells me what I'm doing on the back of this camera right here. It's a hot shoe master. 3 cursors means it's not working as a strobe, but it is working as a driver for the other units. A group, B group, and C group are all dialed in at 00, no compensation whatsoever. Okay, camera is set on A mode. We have an exposure of roughly 160th of a second at f8. Okay, that may change, obviously, and we'll see where we go from here. Okay, and let's see how we do. Yep, exactly. Okay, everybody ready?
As the setting sun changes the background light, Joe and his crew are changing the foreground light, capturing the drama and beauty in a fleeting instant. Joe finds that although he can change or compensate for any of the speedlight groups in his setup, the camera and flash units are handling the extreme condition automatically.
Perfect. There's no compensation dialed into any of these groups. Fading light, 3 characters, lights across the desert, and it's working flawlessly. And go. Here we go. Perfect. Very nice. You guys are great. Beautiful. Stay with it now. Stay with it. Looking good. Looking good. Hang in there, Kelvin. And excellent. But let's just do a quick test and we'll see. So that now is
Earlier in the day, Joe was able to use the intense afternoon sun as a hard backlight to create drama with shadows and highlights. Now the sun is completely set beyond the mountains and paints the background with intense color. But our subject's feathery costume still needs a backlight to define it.
We're almost there.
Joe solves the problem by strategically placing 3 speedlights directly behind the showgirl.
Beautiful. Stay. Don't you dare move. Okay, guys, quickly get a stand. Okay, stay just that way. Please don't move. Okay? So gorgeous. Okay.
After starting with the speedlights placed on the ground behind the showgirl,
Gotta move quick, guys.
Joe realizes that placing a stand with the 3 remote lights directly behind the subject gives him the drama and definition he's after.
Okay. Good, good. Beautiful. And what's happening here is we're getting the rim that I wanted on the feathers, which works quite well. Here's the beauty of the system. We are dying here. We are losing light. We are moving fast. I've got an area of the picture that I feel is a little too hot. And so when I ratio Group C, they will all go up or down. But this, I feel over here in this area of her costume is a little too hot. So I swing that into Group A. That gives me an independent ability to take that exposure. I'm going to put that quickly into something that's around 00, and we'll see what happens. Watch the lights, please.
I'm not sure we got all 3.
There it is.
Our day in the desert has rewarded us with favorable ambient light, open space, and the advantage of a creative lighting system that gave us control of the components that contribute to a great photograph. Tomorrow's challenge will be a wild ride with the Wildcats, as Joe takes the Nikon speedlights inside Las Vegas High School.
Looks great. Stay with me now.
3,000 students keep things moving at a fast pace at Las Vegas High School. It's 6:30 a.m. and class begins at 7 sharp. The school bell will drive today's photographic scenarios, so Joe will have to make the most of his time, responding to lighting situations quickly and easily with his Nikon speedlights. Joe scouts his locations, looking through his lens to determine the best framing and composition.
The thing that I would look for here is not the form or the beauty at this point, it's the sheer numbers. Let's quickly set up and light a big group. Real quick, I need 4 strobes, full green on all the strobes. All right, and we're gonna do 2 bounce and 2 off the floor, okay?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
The coverage here is gonna be the problem. The one graphically interesting thing that's occurring in here is the volume of people, the volume of you know, all these young, you know, dancers dressed in black. So I think if I just put everything off of the ceiling, essentially it's going to be very drab, and there's going to be some shadowing, and I've also got a sea of black. This is really going to stress test the system because it's going to look at this scene and have to figure this out in short order. I'm going to really rely on the system here because I've been told by the teacher I essentially have less than 5 minutes to shoot this.
Because Joe will be shooting beneath fluorescent lights, he needs to correct the color temperature of his speed lights in order to maintain proper white balance. The SB800 comes with a filter kit that includes a light green FLG1 fluorescent correction to get the job done.
Okay, listen up, okay? Because I've got about 3 or 4 minutes to get this done, and we're going to try to get a nice picture of all of you.
It was a test, guys.
Okay, yeah, it was a test, and all of you failed. Okay,
Gathering 50 energetic young women and composing them into an attractive portrait requires more than technical skill.
The real, you know, key to the picture is, as always, you know, it's about relating to your subjects. It's about getting them to react to you or do something with you that is mildly interesting or amusing or on some level graphically pleasing. I mean, you know, you can't just walk into a situation like this and be a bump on a log because they will run right over you. Okay, all right, now I would like you to project glamour, fashion, presence, and beauty all at once, okay? I'm gonna count to 3, all right? Okay? Okay, you guys be glamour, you guys be presence, you guys be beauty, okay? All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, and go!
Joe's charm quickly wins over the class, and he makes the most of his time. Shooting in this situation, Joe chooses to set the camera to the aperture priority exposure mode and selects the fluorescent white balance setting. By using the fluorescent flash filter, Joe can balance the output of the speed lights to match the camera setting.
You really want this to be your last frame? All right, bravo.
Thank you, girls. You can go change.
I was able to shoot on an A mode, balance in the camera for the fluorescent overhead, balance the lights for them to match that fluorescence, tell the camera basically how to expose, what to do. The camera is reacting to all the black and everything else that's in the room, sorting that out, feeding that information to the strobe. The monitor pre-flash is illuminating the situation, giving me contrast, distance, all of that, okay, color, or in this case, lack of color information, and feeding that in milliseconds before the exposure is made. And the result is, you know, a very, you know, accomplished-looking group portrait that is, you know, literally done in minutes.
From 50 dancers, we go now to a single subject beneath a skylight. Joe uses a Nikon digital SLR with a pop-up flash to command an SB600 speedlight unit, which allows Joe to take his flash off-camera wirelessly for more effective lighting simply and easily.
One of the good liaisons that this type of a camera, this type of digital camera with a pop-up flash would enable you to do is to use the pop-up flash not as a very small spectral light source, which is handy enough in and of itself, but is not going to give you the kind of quality or maybe aesthetic approach you might aspire to. What can do it for you, though, is the introduction of a small speed light. Could be an SB800, could be an SB600. These things will follow the lead of the pop-up flash. The pop-up flash at that point becomes a commander flash and dictates to them all of the exposure information that you're going to need. So what I was able to do there basically was to take the flash, use it as a main light source, little too hard, little too much right up front, dial it down 2 stops, soften it up. It gives you the same amount of control, virtuoso control really, of the situation. You're formalizing the foreground, you're using a small speed light, you're hand holding it. I mean, it really doesn't get too much more simple or basic than this, but the level of sophistication you gain through simple maneuvers like moving the flash, even a foot off the axis of the lens, raising it, lowering it, all these effects are very, very pleasing and can open up a whole new world for you.
Across campus, Joe catches up with some Wildcat cheerleaders and sees an opportunity for an informal group portrait while considering the high-impact energy of a cheerleader in action. With Nikon's Auto FP high-speed sync mode, Joe has an opportunity to work with extremely fast shutter speeds to stop the action the way he wants.
what this shot will be about the energy of the cheerleaders, the color of the uniforms. We'll do a portrait, and then we'll rapidly segue into a situation where we'll get some active cheerleading kinds of moves. And I'm going to use the graphics and the color of the lockers up here.
Because Joe wants elegant light, he chooses a classic technique of placing a main soft light slightly over the subjects' heads and very close to their faces. For the main light, he puts two Nikon speed lights, Group A, through a light panel with a diffuser. Group A provides effective light for a portrait, giving the subjects' faces good clarity, depth, and dimension, but Joe isn't finished yet. He envisions a glamorous, glowing portrait light similar to Beauty and Style magazine covers. To create this look, Joe adds a third speed light, Group B, to provide low fill light. He places the final SB800 below the subject's faces, again as close as possible. He fires this speed light through a light panel at a compensation of -1 from the overhead strobes. This combination produces his desired effect. Even though groups A and B are hidden behind diffusion material, Joe can still easily control them wirelessly via the master flash on the camera.
Looking nice, looking nice. Okay, this isn't your straightforward cheerleader portrait. Think more Vogue than high school yearbook, okay?
The first exposure of the setup yields some good results.
So if you want to take a look at this, basically we're already done, okay? We're finished right now. It's a beautiful portrait of these three young ladies. Let's try one more time. The camera is on A mode on cloudy balance, and I'm letting the camera just do its thing, okay, at this point. Okay, ladies, all right, once again, let's see, Britney, Beyonce, and Madonna, can you just kind of collapse on one another? Okay, all right.
Freezing the action of a moving subject with sharp clarity at the decisive moment is one of the benefits of flash photography. Joe positions his speed lights through two separate light panels and directs the cheerleader to perform a leap from her routine, capturing the peak point of action.
Ready, 1, 2, 3, go. We'll give this a try. Ready, go. Okay, very nice. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. We got you. All right, what an extraordinary group here.
On his way to football practice, Joe makes an impromptu stop for a very quick group portrait with the student council. With his remote units placed on tables, using the AS-19 stand provided with the SB800 and SB600 speed lights, Joe uses the walls and ceiling to bounce light within the scene to be sure he properly lights his subjects.
Okay, you ready? Okay, here we go. All right. And one more time, here we go. Ah! All right, all right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is really quick, really fast. I had a couple of big white wall surfaces, and I just used them to fill this whole group. It's a very difficult situation to get that kind of coverage over that many faces without getting a lot of shadowing. And if you light a situation like this from the sides without being soft or wrapping about it, not using big surfaces, you're going to take one person and they're going to shadow the other. Okay, and that's a very difficult thing to get past. So what we did was we used the big surfaces to make sure everybody's kind of drenched in light. Here's where, as a photographer on location, you are completely at the mercy of the elements, and you have to adapt and improvise. And that's what, again, you know, I reach. You know, one of the first things I reach for is the kind of fluid technology that's available to me in the SB800, because I know I can move. If I had to bring in large strobes into an environment like this that are manually dial up, dial down, that I have to find power outlets for everywhere, that I've got cords and wires, gaffer tape, stands, heavy packs. I mean, you see what's going on behind me. I mean, we're talking crazy. Okay, so one thing I will, you know, really bless these units about is that they're small, they're fast, they're light. I can put them on stands. I could take a clamp and put it here if I wanted to, you know, on the rim of a weight machine or something like that. There's lots of possibilities that these things present to me that I can hopefully work in this environment without either overcoming it or interrupting it. Because these folks have a championship football game today. The last thing they want to do is kind of stop for me. Okay?
As the team goes through its typical workout, Joe sees an opportunity to use the rear curtain sync feature of the speedlight that combines motion with stop action by firing the strobe at the end of a longer than normal exposure, about 1/15 to 1/4 of a second.
This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get these guys to do their running drills right at me. We're gonna do flash and blur. The nice thing about the camera system is that I can dial in a rear curtain sync. If you want to get a logical sort of fluid motion that has the hint of motion, the tailing of some action, the logical and best way to approach that is to have the strobe go off at the end of the shutter, when the shutter closes, not at the beginning of the shutter. If it goes off at the beginning of the shutter, then your subject moves through their own shadow. When the strobe goes off at the end of the shutter, you will find a very natural motion where the blur comes and then freezes. Okay, hold them up, coach, hold them up. When I started to look at the LCD, was that I was getting not enough fill into the low angle because their attitude and their heads are down. Okay, so you have to adjust and react to that. So now what I'm able to do is I've got the overall ambient light in the scene. I'm filling that from the wall and from the ceiling, and now I'm popping in a little direct light right from the key, right from the camera. Okay, here we go, coach. But all you guys cluster up here. Instead of a formal portrait, I'm going to ask you to cluster close to camera. Okay? Lean into me, all right? Little enthusiasm. Okay, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and I want you to scream at camera.
Once Joe places his speedlights in position, he has the ability to determine which units are associated to which group, see where they are located, and verify that they are receiving the pre-flash from the master SB800. Joe checks to make sure that all of his lights are firing by pushing the test button on the master unit.
See, okay.
He can see each speedlight group fire a test burst in order, first A, then B, then C. So he knows that the master speedlight is getting a signal to them and that they are all firing properly.
Okay, let's go. Here we go. Ready?
He can then adjust the output after seeing the actual image he captures.
One more time. Go. Okay, I'll let you go if you do it really well this last time. Okay? All right? All right? Okay, and 1, 2, 3, go!
Joe's skill at working with his subjects and the Nikon creative lighting system's speed and versatility are the perfect combination for delivering a perfect portrait.
In terms of a situation with multiple wireless digital flash, I'd honestly tell you, you're not going to get better than that because we did that on the fly in less than 5 minutes. All right?
We've seen how world-renowned photographer Joe Mcnally uses the Nikon Speedlight system as an essential creative tool for his photography. Joe approaches each photograph as a story waiting to be told. From simple setups with a single on-camera speedlight to multi-group and multi-light scenarios, the Speedlight system helps Joe tell the stories. The subject, the setting, the time of day are what the photo captures. But the quality, control, and speed of the light that freezes the moment are what tells the story. We hope you've been inspired to utilize Nikon speedlights to their fullest potential in your photography to express your creativity. Be sure to explore the bonus features on this DVD to learn more about how the Nikon SB600 and SB800 units work within the Nikon Creative Lighting System to help you see photography in a whole new light.